Anytime I've gone chasing a film, it's never worked out. But at the same time, if I'm holidaying somewhere in Vietnam, not even thinking about, and I'll suddenly get a call saying, oh, do you want to do a film with Rajinikanth? And I'm like, I need to take more holidays in life. So when Rajni sir, he'll sit with all of us, talk equally to all of us. This whole hierarchy of I'll only talk to the lead actress but not talk to the other people, that's not there at all. Working with Vijay sir for me was my first ever big commercial film. That's where I saw that kind of stardom for the first time. I would say that I'm very comfortable with my face, with my body, where I don't want to do anything to myself. There are times I have auditioned and they've just been like, oh, we want somebody who's like a fabulous performer, and these are the words that are thrown around by the casting director, and cut to next thing you read in the paper that they've not only cast a star kid, but somebody who's not known to be a good performer. I get a call from Hani Trihan. He sits me down and he's like, don't get your hopes up. That's the opening line. Don't get your hopes up, but I'm casting for this one film. So they're either going to go with an A-list actor or they're going to go with an entirely new face. And then he proceeds to tell me it's Majidi. And it took every ounce of my willpower to not let my jaw drop. I recall him asking if I could lose 10 kilos in 8 days. I once worked with a director, he would only respond to the actor and not to me. Coming back home to mom and dad feels great. I feel like it keeps me in check. It keeps me feeling, it gives me that padding, that emotional padding.
Hi, welcome to In the Ring. I'm in conversation with the star actor who's truly pan-Indian from Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil and Telugu. She's straddled all different worlds and of course Bollywood. From the world of Siddhant Chaturvedi and Ishaan Khatter to the world of Mammootty and Rajinikanth and to the world of Vijay and Dhanush. Is there anything that Malavika hasn't done in her career? And before I forget, she of course made her super debut with Majidi. I'm in conversation with Malavika Mohanan. Thank you for being part of this.
Hi, Jitesh. Thank you for having me. I was actually so curious to see what your introduction would be because every interview I've watched of yours, your introductions are so lovely. I remember Shabana ji saying, oh, what a lovely, she was like such a flattering introduction that was. So I was curious, but thank you for your lovely words, and it's amazing to be here.
So how long has it been? Over 12 years now since you've started your career?
About 10 years.
What would you tell your younger self today?
Gosh, I think if I travel back in my head, I was so clueless. I was so raw, so unprepared when I started off. I had, it feels like a whole different person. I had not taken any formal training in acting. Let me start off with that. And I was so clueless what I was doing. I think it was very visible in my first film, Pattam Pole, that I was very clueless what I was doing. So it's been a journey of learning. It's been a journey of experiencing a lot of different cultures because how you pointed out, I have worked across multiple industries. I started off with Malayalam, forayed into Tamil, worked with Majidi, which was a Hindi language film, worked on Yudhra, which was again a Hindi language film. I'm working on a film with Prabhas right now, which is Telugu. So I've been India has so many subcultures and I've experienced so many of them that it's been a learning of cultures, of people, of craft, of so many things.
So what's been your childhood like? I mean, your father, everybody knows him. Wow, K.U. Mohanan, did Dawn, and he did all the wonderful Excel movies and all that. But what was the kind of childhood that you had? What was the kind of uh, advice that your dad and mom gave you at home? Was it like a regular Mallu household? What was the kind of were you at all? Did any kind of filmy influence come into your home?
Both my parents are from what used to be a very small town at that point. Now it's not so small, unfortunately. It's called Payyanur, and my father went to Pune Film Institute, studied cinematography, and then moved to Bombay to start his struggling phase, which is very common back in the day because you only had either Doordarshan or you had feature films, and feature films took time to like crack into. So struggling phase was very common for every person who went to FTI.
Were you born then, around that time?
I was like right after he finished. I think a couple of years into his struggling phase is when I was born. They moved to Bombay. So our home has always been a mini Kerala. Like culturally, it's been a very Malayali household. We speak Malayalam at home. We eat Malayali food. The aesthetics of the household are very, very Mallu, which I like. I think the more I've grown up, I feel it keeps me very rooted to my sense of identity, where I come from. So I like that I grew up with my parents keeping me and my brother very much in touch with our culture is something I feel very, very, very good about. But I wouldn't call it a filmy household. There was a lot of I grew up around a lot of cinema. What are
the kind of discussions that used to happen in your house? Oh, I'm guessing, because I mean, your dad is legendary for a lack of any other word. But did you have, say, Malayali directors coming home or any kind of conversations about Malayalam cinema? Was there anything of that?
Not a lot of Malayali directors coming home because my father did his first Malayalam film
very recently.
Just like 5-6 years back, much after Dawn and Talash. It's called Carbon with Fahad Fasil. That was his first Malayalam movie. Who did come home quite a bit when I was young was Manikal.
Oh.
My father and Manikal used to collaborate on a lot of films back in the day. And I remember when Mani sir had won his national award, his certificate, which was a very beautiful looking, the calligraphy was lovely. And as a child, I remember being enthralled by just how graceful it looked. And that was sitting in our house for a lot of years because he never bothered picking it up from our place. He used to visit quite often. We grew up in a very small one-bedroom flat before Achan started making a lot of money and we could move into a bigger house. As a result of which, there was only one TV at home. So whatever my father was watching or whatever my family was watching, for me, those were the films that I was exposed to growing up. So on one hand, it was a lot of Godard, then Louis Buñuel and Wong Kar-wai eventually at one point during my teenage years. And on the other hand, it was all the Malayalam cult classics. So it was, and as somebody who grows up in Bombay, you're exposed to the Bollywood cinema. So it's three entirely different worlds of cinema that I grew up exposed to. And I feel like all of them have shaped how I perceive things, how I look at cinema, how I think of cinema. But I wouldn't call it filmy. I would call it more of an artistic household. My mom is a writer. So I grew up around a lot of books.
Did your parents have a love marriage?
They did. They had love marriage, love letters and all of that happened back in the day.
So they met in Payyanur?
They did. They met in Payyanur. They fell in love, got married, moved to Bombay, had me. 5 years later, had my younger brother, Aditya, who's a historian now. He's an archaeologist, also a musician. And so I'm a Bombay baby, born, raised. A lot of people think that I'm from South India, as in I've grown up there, but no, Bombay girl, born, bred, school, college. I've never lived outside of Bombay.
So then, how did I believe you went to the sets once, and that's where Mammootty saw you. How you want to
It
recall?
was. I have a very filmy story of how I got into cinema, like one of those, meet cutes, but not a romantic meet cute, like something that results into, you finding your career path and all of that. So by this point in my life, I was in college. I was in degree college, and I had no clue what I wanted to do.
Where did you study? Which college?
Mitibai first, and then Wilson. So I was at that point where you're figuring out, like, okay, I don't want to do science. I don't want to do commerce. I want to do something in the arts, but I don't know what. And Dad, by that point, was working on like some of the biggest Hindi films that were happening. So we were very used to him coming home and saying that I was shooting with Shah Rukh today, I was shooting with Amir today. One day he comes home and he's like, I'm shooting with Mammootty tomorrow. And me and my mom went like, oh. For us, Mohanlal and Mammootty, and obviously having grown up seeing their work on so much of Malayalam cinema, we were beyond excited, and we went on set the next day, and the shoot was some ad commercial that was happening in Film City, and Mammootty sir has this presence where like he's very intimidating, not in a bad way. But he's such a I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know the right words, but there's such an aura about him. He was sitting in one corner and he's very he's into a lot of tech stuff. So he had like the latest Samsung, like some tab or something like that. And we were all huddled in a corner, a bunch of us, just looking at him and just taking it in. And he turns in our direction and he just just calls out, and I'm looking behind. I'm like, okay, who is he calling? And then people, he's calling you, and I get pushed into that. And I go up to him, and he's got this very deadpan expression. He's like, so what do you do? And I was like, I'm in college, and he's like, you should act. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I've not thought about it. And he pulls out his tab, and he's like, just go walk till there and come. And he's recording me walking, he's recording me talking, and it was just so surreal and so bizarre what was happening, and flattering, obviously. And then he went on to say that he's like my son, his name is Dulquer Salmaan, and Dulquer had been acting for a couple of years by that point. He'd done Ustad Hotel, and he was established. He established pretty quick in the Malayalam film industry. And he was like, they were casting for a couple of films with Dulquer, and I think you would really fit, one of the film, fit the part. So he recommended me to the director, and that's how I got my first film, courtesy Mammootty sir.
So, what do you see any difference between Mammootty and Dulquer? I mean, anything that is very similar about both of them? Any anecdote that you remember while, like this anecdote that he shot you? Did you remember anything with Dulquer?
Dulquer and me got along. We got along like a house on fire. Of all the co-actors I worked with, I feel as, if I'm not mistaken, I think even he's Leo. Is he? I think so. Anyway, so as people, we're very similar. So it was so easy to just get along with. You see, you either get along or you don't, right? And you can't force it when you're not vibing. You can't force it, no matter how good the other person is and how well your intentions are. But him and me could just connect really well, and I have lovely memories of shooting Pattam Pole, and we shot in Alapi in the monsoons. So we shot in backwaters, we shot in OT, all of these beautiful locations. And we had a great time where after a point we were so close that from the hotel we would drive to the set together. So his wife would also be there because even she was visiting. So it was her, me, Dulquer, and we were sitting in one car and just, going on these long drives. And I have very fond memories of that film. And I remember him saying, you know what, Malu, not all co-actors are going to be this fun and chill. You'll learn the more films you do. And I did learn it, that
which we will come to eventually. But what did you learn on this? I believe you got some very bad reviews for your first film. Is that true? And what did you learn while acting? Did you know, or is there like a moment when you said, okay, this is what I want to do all my life?
Like I mentioned previously, I was clueless. I was clueless about, I wish I'd gone into the whole experience having done um, a camera acting workshop or something, like just to have a better grip over, hey, what are you doing, Uh, but again, these are things we think in retrospect. It's all the could haves that we think about.
Any sort of advice that your director gave you that, made you, okay, this is an important lesson in my career. I should remember it always. There's some sort of, as a debutant, people give you all kinds of advice. So somebody who gave you great advice on that set or something that you recall?
Right. I do recall the director saying once that, that it's just look into the mirror and just figure out what expressions look good, or like what looks how, and how much of what to do as per what the lensing is. Like that's one of the most important things you have to learn for screen acting. Like if it's a tight close, how much do you do? Even if you're so it's balancing out what you're feeling versus how it's registering on camera, which I obviously didn't understand at that point. I learned it much later through the course of my my work. But I would say that if I had to trace back and look at which was the film that really changed me, altered me as a person, made me look at the craft in a whole different way, I would say it's Thangalaan. This film directed by Paranjit that I did with
Vikram.
Vikram. We shot a few years back. The film released last year, but we began shooting like 3 to 4 years back. I feel like I have not given as much of myself to I gave it my all. That was one role where I completely transformed myself physically because the role demanded it. Mentally, emotionally, like that film challenged me in every way I could possibly be challenged, and it pushed me beyond my comfort and more. And I feel like, that's one film, if I had to point out from my entire filmography, that really turned things around for me.
Then you realize, okay, chalo, this is what I'm on the right track.
Yeah. I feel like that awareness, no? Like we all get that awareness hits us at one point with some film. And for me, I feel like that happened with, of course, it did happen with previous films, but to that magnitude, I feel it hit me with Thangalaan.
You want to say something more about Thangalaan? Obviously, working with a senior actor like Vikram, any piece of advice that he gave you, or anything that you remember on the sets of the film, which is like, see, it's interesting. You said you really came into your own. It's like a turning point. Anything else that you remember from Thangalaan?
What I do remember is I came on board for that film maybe a couple of weeks before they started filming. And the role required the actor to know Silambam, which is a Tamil, like very ancient martial arts, which is how to wield a stick. It's basically stick fighting that the film had. And the film came to me, like for some reason, like dates and this, that, and, confusion over things. I signed the film 2 weeks before it began. And I had no idea what I was signing up for. I just knew, okay, it's a film with Paranjit, with Vikram. And I've heard it's a fabulous role. It's a fabulous part for the girl. And I was looking for a film at that point where I can perform, which can prove me as a performer. Because I was on that quest to, okay, like let's have let's do this. Let's be known as a good actor. And I remember being on set the first day. No prep, nothing, because I'd been shooting for something else prior to it. And I was this tribal goddess who's also a warrior. And I had no clue what I was doing. Like, I didn't know anything. Like, I couldn't even hold the stick properly, let alone wield it. And I was so petrified that they were going to replace me. See, sure, there was no prep, there was no heads up, nothing. But I was so scared that they were going to replace me for not being able to do this. I went up to the director and I was like, Ranjit sir, I need some time. And he was like, you know what? Let's cut this short. Let's not do this right now. I'm going to go shoot another schedule, which does not have you as a part of it. Take a couple of months, prep. And I was shooting for another film simultaneously, and I was shooting in Kerala. And I was like, for me, that was like a do or die situation because I was so drawn to that part. I was so drawn to that role. I was so, I really wanted to work with Paranjit. I wanted to do that film. Like I wanted to be in it and I wanted to ace it. And then my that's when the grind started for me. I would wake up at 5 in the morning, do the Silambam, like do a 1 hour Silambam class, go shower, go for shoot the entire day, come back, go to the gym and work out, because even that was a part of the prep. And then again do Silambam practice at midnight, like from 11 to 12 at night, I would be doing it, and again go to sleep. And I was on that grind for 2 months. And then finally I was on set and it was great. And so that part for me was like, oof. I was so scared that they were just going to be like, okay, we're done with you, you know, let's just get someone else instead. And I was like, can't let that happen.
Have you been replaced in movies because of whatever reasons, or say you've been replaced by a nepo kid, or you've unfairly been taken out of movies, or have you been shortchanged?
Replaced? Fortunately, no. I mean, there are of course times when we've all, like, you know, auditioned and then there are times I have auditioned and they've just been like, oh, you know, like we want somebody who's like a fabulous performer, and these are the words that are thrown around by the casting director, and cut to like next thing you read in the paper that they've not only cast a star kid, but somebody who's not known to be a good performer. And then you're just like, are you want to take the person, but then why are you saying all of this? You know, like that just, I think that is an irritating part. Don't preach something to the rest of us and then go ahead and do this. I totally understand the appeal or like whatever. I mean, that's just the way of the industry, how it works. That has happened. But fortunately, I haven't been replaced. Yeah.
Good, more power to you. So what did your dad tell you? What is the kind of advice? You know, your dad's such a veteran, and you know, he's worked with Shah Rukh Khan on Dawn and Amir Khan on Talash and all of that. What is the kind of advice he gave you about the movie? Like, I say it because you told me about that, you know, the camera capturing this bit of your face, and what is the kind of advice your dad gave you about the movie industry?
So my father is something, he's not very verbose when it comes to his advice. He's more of like, he's the kind that he conducts himself in a certain way, you know, like he'll be super professional. He's got a reputation of being very easy to work with, he has a very good temperament. He'll listen to everybody. He's light-hearted. He's punctual. And he kind of expects me to be the same, but he won't tell me that you have to be this. But if I'm not any of those things, he'll be like, oh, you know, why are you doing it this way? And I'm like, I don't know.
Give me a specific instance.
Once he saw some film of mine, I forget which one, and he was just like, why do you do your hair like that? It doesn't look good on you. I'm like, then you should tell me. He's like, that doesn't look good on you on camera. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, why, if you know what looks good or doesn't look good on me on camera, why can't you just tell that to me prior to the film instead of seeing it at the screening and telling me, you know? So after a point, I started coaxing him. I'm like, you tell me, like, does this makeup look good on me? Does this hair look good on me? But for him, everything comes after. Like, I think he expects me to just like imbibe it from him instead of him having to like verbally, you know, say things. Yeah, that's...
Tell me about the Majidi. First of all, Majidi making a film in Hindi was a bit of a, you know, and then of course you aced the audition. I'm told, this is all hearsay, I'm told people like Deepika and Kangana sort of auditioned for Majidi and all. But can you talk about the experience, like the audition and the entire, and you worked with Ishaan, you know, so can you recall the experience?
I recall seeing in the newspaper one day that Majidi is making a film in India, and that Deepika Padukone is doing it, because there were some look test pictures of hers that were like attached in the article, I think in Dhobi Ghat or something like that, in like dressed as the character. And I remember thinking fleetingly that, oh, of course, you know, Majidi comes to India and makes a film, and, you know, and you know, he's obviously going to cast somebody who's a really big star here. So I wasn't even surprised by it, but I was surprised by the fact that I was like, oh, I've grown up seeing his films, because I've grown up seeing a lot of world cinema. Baran, Children of Heaven, all of them actually. And one day I'm sitting with a friend at a restaurant, like pretty much the same week. And I get a call from Hani Trihan at night at like 10:30 p.m. And that's not the time you're expecting a casting director to call you. And somebody like, I was speaking to him for the first time. And he was like, "Hi, Malavika, this is very urgent, which is why I'm calling at this hour." He's like, "I urgently need some photographs of you." And I had no context to this, why, when, where. And
You knew Honey before.
I knew of Honey, but we'd never interacted before. And he was, one of the top casting directors at the point. It was him, Shanu Sharma, Mukesh Chhabra, like they were the creme de la creme of the casting world. So the moment an aspiring actor got a call from any of these, people, it was like, ooh, something big's gonna happen in my life. Like that was the abhi break milne wala hai. Like it was one of those feelings, right? And I sent him some pictures and he was like, "Can you come and meet me at my office first thing tomorrow morning?" So all of this is happening like tuck, tuck, tuck. It's not like, oh, let's line it up for next Wednesday, Thursday. No, it's like 10:30, 11, I'm getting the call. Early morning meeting. I go to his office. I meet him. He sits me down and he's like, "Don't get your hopes up." That's the opening line. "Don't get your hopes up, but I'm casting for this one film. So they're either going to go with a A-list actor or they're going to go with an entirely new face." And then he proceeds to tell me it's Majid Majidi. And it took every ounce of my willpower to not let my jaw drop. And I was just staring blank-eyed at him. I was like, okay. And he told me a little bit about the character. And he was like, the director does not wish to audition because he believes that if he gets somebody who looks the part, he can extract the performance out of the person. So he's not too worried about that aspect. But he's really keen on somebody looking the part and looking like somebody who's fresh, who's not seen too much. He explained the character to me and he was like, "Now you interpret the character. You interpret how she's going to dress, how she's going to do her hair, how she's going to do her, like makeup as in like whatever the look is, kajal, no kajal, hair tied, hair loose, like whatever." I went, spent a day getting the whole thing together, did my own makeup, hair, and I told my father, I was like, "Okay, you're gonna have to, take some pictures of me." I dragged him along, went to Mud Island because I wanted a setting that looked a little rustic, something that looked a little real. Because to be dressed as somebody who comes from Dhobi Ghat, and I can't be clicking those pictures in a space that doesn't really bring out the character in you. So went hunting for a space that looked like I was that character. We walked around a little village in Mud Island. Dad took photos and I sent that. And the next day I get a call to meet Majidi sir. I met him and he wanted me to again go dressed as the character. So I've dressed as the character and like gone and everything. He saw me and he was like, "That's it. That's the girl."
So what's the best piece of advice and something you recall during the shooting? How many days did you all shoot for and all that? Do you recall anything?
I recall him asking if I could lose 10 kilos in 8 days. Which was just and us time pe, when you're in the midst of a project and when you're also much younger, there's this crazy adrenaline and this zest you have, for the impossible, where I was like, yeah, of course I can do it. And I immediately went and consulted with a nutritionist, got on a diet chart, and I realized much later that okay, it's easy. It's an impossible task. How can anybody lose 10 kilos in 8 days? And that's a takeaway also I had from the experience that as actors, sure, no matter how extreme you have to go for a role, whether it's gaining weight, whether it's like dropping a lot of kilos, you have to do it in a systematic way because if not, it's going to take a toll on your health. Because that's what happened to me at that point. Even though in the Josh, I was just like, of course, I'm going to do it. And I went on a very extreme diet. Not for any other reason, but to kind of match up with the timeline because the schedule was starting in a week. And I was on a very extreme diet of just like 1 apple and 2 egg whites a day. That's it. And once the shoot was over, and I eventually lost weight, not 8 kilos, the weight loss happened in a more gradual way. But what it did was it completely zapped my body out of like vitamins, minerals, energy, all the good stuff. And I recall being in, like, thankfully after the shoot got over, I was in bed one day and I opened my eyes one day and I was like, I can't get up. Like, my body is just, it's so weak and it's so frail. I can't get up. And I couldn't get up to even go see a doctor. So my mom called a doctor home, and he checked the vitals, and he was just like, a lot of her, levels have fallen. And he had me on medication, and I learned the very hard way that do all of this, but you have to do it in a more systematic way, and not do it in a silly way just because you're excited in the moment. But that is something I really remember from that film. But commenting on Majidi sir, he was lovely to work with. There was a lot of language barrier because he only speaks Farsi and he has a translator. So when you're directing via a translator, it becomes very tricky to sort of that entire thing, Majidi sir, translator, me, translator, Majidi sir. So that process was a little confusing. I recall we were shooting in this jail set one day, and it was with a child artist who was about 5 or 6 or something. He's a very naughty kid. And it took us a lot of time. He's sleeping in the shot, and it took forever to just get him to calm down and go to sleep. And this kid has finally gone to sleep. And in the shot, I had to pick this kid up and put him on the bed. And after that, I had to pick up a toy car and just like look at it in a melancholic way. Now I've done this entire part. The set is silent because everyone's scared of waking up this naughty child. And suddenly, mid-shot, I hear, cut. So I'm like, oh, cut. Like, what happened? Like, maybe it's something with the camera. So I just like broke character and I was like, and then suddenly Majidi sir just came storming towards me. He was like, why did you stop? And I was like, but you said cut. He was like, I didn't say cut. I said car. So in his accent, car and cut sound very similar. And I heard, and he was fuming. He's a lovely person, but because there was so much at stake with that shot, he was fuming. And I mean, while I understood his stress, it just, it was so much for me. But I'm also somebody who feels very embarrassed crying in front of people. And I've always been like that since I was very young. Like I won't cry easily, at least around people. I don't like showing people. I think I view it as some sort of weakness. And I recall after the shot was done, walking out, going to another jail cell, which no one was using, and just breaking down and just crying for like a good 10 minutes and then coming back and continuing with the shoot. So that's...
So then once the film got released, what have been your interactions with Majidi sir?
With Majidi sir? I mean, I've been in touch with, so I mean, apart from, I think I should add on and say that, he, these couple of incidents, of course, he was in his workspace, so he was temperamental, but otherwise he's the sweetest. Like, I remember we'd gone for Bosphorus Film Festival and we were all in Istanbul. The producer, Shireen, who's again a dear friend she's become a dear friend since the film, and Majidi sir, and he's very he's a family man. So his wife was in India pretty much most of the time we were filming. He's close to his, like his grandkids would be there, his son would be there. So every time there's a film festival, it's like everyone's families and everyone's going together. So it was a big group. And there are times we've been shopping in Istanbul and Majidi sir has just been waiting outside the shop because it's his wife, Shireen, and me who are shopping, and he'll just be waiting outside holding the bags. So he's a sweetheart. He's a lovely person and very zen outside of work. But he gets a little, spirited at work.
How do you deal with directors? Of course, Majidi sir is a legend. So, but how do you deal with directors who are toxic or, patriarchal? Have you faced experiences where you have had directors and you have put them in their place, or maybe you've learned something new from them. How do you deal with, I say this because obviously you work so much in the South, and the South is extremely almost dictatorial when it comes to their directors, and it's clearly, the director calling the shots there. But have you faced any, you don't need to take names or anything, but have you faced anything where you were felt to feel small, or, hey, you're not good enough as an actor, or perhaps the male actor was given more, which is the case 99% times. It's the top actors who get, there is a clear hierarchy, actor, director, and the rest of the world. So have you ever felt that?
I once worked with a director who would just, like, he would only respond to the actor and not to me. And I'm not even talking while doing a scene. Like, even if it's the three of us sitting and talking, if I would say something, he would not even listen to it, reply, acknowledge at all. He would just be so tuned into the guy that after a point I was just like, what am I even doing here? Like, am I like, I don't think anyone's gonna miss me. I think I can just leave the room. And which was bizarre for me. But fortunately, the last few makers I've worked with have been lovely. Like I just finished a film with Sathyan, Anthikad. And oh my God, he's such a sweetheart. I mean, we all know that he's a legendary director in Malayalam. But he has this quality. I know you asked me the opposite question, but I think because I'm just coming off that experience, he has a very rare quality which I haven't seen in any other maker, where he's a very good judge of character. So if he spends 1 or 2 days around you with you, he'll crack you. He knows what kind of person you are, and it's not through a judgmental lens. He'll figure out, acha ye aisa insaan hai, and then he'll know how to get you to emote in a certain way, and he'll direct you as per that.
What iconic films, all the 80s belong to Sathyan Anthikad, na?
It was surreal working with that duo actually, because I've grown up seeing Pattam Pravesham was one of my favorite films growing up. And I never thought like a couple of decades down the line, I would be working with the same duo. There was.
So was it? Tell me the experience of working with, say, somebody like, because I'm told Mohanlal doesn't talk much, in the sense he's very reticent and all. Did you have a contrary experience?
He's very funny. He's got a banging sense of humor. He's so witty, and he's always cracking everyone up. And he has this quality of, his humor keeps the set light-hearted, fun the entire day. He's got that. So, no, he wasn't quiet. Lalatan's not quiet. He's got the, at heart, I feel he's like a 25-year-old, yeah. If not younger, he's 25 at heart. He's got the energy of a 25-year-old, because even if between two schedules, say we have 5 days off, I would go home and I would be, just chilling at home, doing absolutely nothing, having worked for a month, having shot for a month continuously. And I'd meet him 5 days later, and I assume that, okay, even he's like resting, And I was like, oh, how was your break? He's like, very nice. I went to Cambodia. Like, what? I was like, you only had 3 days off, like 5 days, sure, but like travel also, right? But you only had 3 days off. He's like, yeah, I just wanted to go to a temple. So I went to Cambodia, went to the temple and came back. So he does not sit at home at all. He's constantly inspired. He's looking for things he's curious. He's always looking for that creative stimulation in acting and the world. And he's always seeking things. So if he suddenly feels like he wants to go to Cambodia for 2 days and then go to Thailand for 2 days and then come back, he'll do that. So he's very interesting and a lot of fun to work with, and not quite. Lalatan is not quite.
What about Vijay? I mean, he's a massive star. You've done 2 films with Vijay.
One film, unfortunately.
One film. So I think it was Master, right?
Master.
So what was that experience like? I mean, he's also like the name in Tamil cinema. So what was the experience with Vijay like?
Working with Vijay, so for me, was my first ever big commercial film. Like, that's where I I saw that kind of stardom for the first time. And the moment you are doing a film with Vijay sir, it's all of his fans, they start showering their love on you. And that was such a beautiful and overwhelming experience for me at that point. I'd never experienced something like that. And even while we shot the film, it was like being back in college. It was a very young team. It was directed by Lokesh, all of his associate and assistant directors, everybody. Anirudh was doing the music. Like it was all youngsters. And it actually felt like we were working on a college project together. And it didn't feel like we were working on like a, film of that magnitude, film of that scale at all. And I would say like some of my most beautiful memories of camaraderie with a team are with is with the team of Master.
Give me an experience, like give me an anecdote or something that was on the Master set.
So we were shooting for this song called Anda Kanna Pataka, and the song was not ready at that point, and it was this love track between Vijay sir and me. So Ani was doing the music for it, and we had to shoot it, and we just didn't have the track with us. And we were using this song, that Hey Ya. I think it's from some Deepika Padukone film.
Hey Ya.
Yeah. So I recall us using that song to shoot our song because the vibe was similar. And we shot that song for 3 days. And now every time I hear that track, it takes me back to my Master days, because like we were all humming to that song because we were listening to it on loop.
Not on dummy, like a
dummy song. We shot on an entirely different song.
Nice.
We shot on a whole different song because the song was not ready. And later when we saw it on screen, we were like, because Hey is the only thing then that's coming to my head every time I see the song. So it took me a while to like, So that's a song I strongly associate with Master. And this other very, very, for me, I would say one of the most crucial points in my career. So it was 2 days after Master had released, and I'm pottering around the house. I wasn't filming, I was at home. And I go to my bedroom and I see I have some missed call from a random number. And I just dismissed it as okay, like it's some I didn't even give it a second thought. And then I get a call from this one PR person from the Tamil industry, and I had his number saved. So, I picked up the call, and he was like, he was super frantic. He was like, Ma, Rajinikanth sir is trying to call you and you're not picking up. And I'm like, wait, I don't have any missed call from Rajinikanth sir, because I don't know what I expected it to pop up as. And I was like, wait. And I cut the call and I was like, what do I do now? So even I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? What do you do if you miss a call from Rajinikanth, if he's called you? And he's like, call back. So I go back to the number and I call, and this one person picks up who's not Rajni, so I can tell that from the hello. And I was like, hi, and he's like, hello. And I'm like, hi, this is Malavika Mohanan. I think Rajni sir had called me, and he was like, okay, yeah, one moment. And then like next thing I know, Rajni sir comes on the call, and he was just like, Malavika, I just saw Master and you looked so pretty, and the film is such an astounding success, and I'm so happy for you. And I'm like, that's so sweet of him to do that. It was my second film in Tamil. Master was my second film.
But you worked with Rajni sir?
I did. I did my Tamil debut was with Rajni sir. Peta. And it was obviously not, like I was not paired opposite to him, but like a lot of other actors, it was my dream to share screen space with the Rajinikanth. So when I was offered Peta, I was like, okay, it has, if I don't do this, I will regret it, even though it's not a lead role. And I did that. And I think some of my favorite memories are the time I got to spend with Rajni sir on the sets of Peta. And Jitesh, he's one of the best conversationalists I've come across. He's a great listener. He has fabulous stories of like back in the day, 70s, 80s, all of these anecdotes, yes. But he also shares very openly about, he'll talk to you about his spiritual journey, about his inspirations. He'll want to know about you, about about your parents, about your upbringing, about your thoughts, your opinions on things. Like, he's a very well-rounded conversationalist. And we shot for Peta in Banaras, outskirts of Varanasi, because they couldn't shoot with Rajni sir in Tamil Nadu. Obviously, like, crowd control and all would have become a nightmare for them. So because I think he was also in North India, he was also in a very comfortable environment, he would never go back to his vanity. But that's the other thing with a lot of South Indian superstars. People don't go back to their vanity van at all. So be it Prabhas, he's hanging, like, even if to set up the next shot, say it's going to take 45 minutes, they're on set. They're interacting, they're sitting with all the other actors or sitting with the director. Even right now, Mohanlal sir does not go to the, once he's ready and out, does not go to the van at all, unless it's like lunch or a meeting or a one-off. So that way, culturally, like, it's one of those small things which is a little different. So when Rajni sir, like, he'll sit with all of us, talk equally to all of us. This whole hierarchy of I'll only talk to the lead actress, but not talk to the other people, that's not there at all. He'll make you comfortable from the get-go. From the moment he sees you till the last day of shoot, he'll converse with you. He'll make you feel at home. He'll help you. And he's one of the best souls I've come across.
You mentioned a director not talking to you, that sort of patriarchal. Have you sensed that a lot in the South, or is it just a India thing? Also because you have a mind of your own and you have an viewpoint and you have an opinion. So do you have to diminish yourself when you're working with stars? Like, don't say everything that's in your mind. You have to be very careful to always be. Also, we are in the world of social media, so obviously everything gets blown out of proportion. There are fan clubs. Everything gets blown out of proportion. So do you have to be more? Do you lose your sense of self when you're in the business? It's obviously business of make believe. You project an image. So do you lose yourself, you feel?
I wouldn't say anything is having worked in most industries, I wouldn't say there's one particular thing that's a South thing or a Bollywood thing. It's very person to person. Like, every maker is his own person, and every person is different. It's just that, like, some people, like, a person might be misogynistic, and a person could be the complete opposite. In my experience,
misogyny on the sets. You don't, like I said, you don't need to give names, but anything. Have you faced any sort of...
In everyday life, of course, Yajit. If you're asking about something very drastic, I can only recall this one director who only spoke to the male actor. Like, which is weird. I'm sitting here. It's like us, it's this distance. And if I'm saying something in this direction, how can you not be hearing me, right? That was just strange. Yeah, it was just bizarre.
What is the weirdest piece of advice you've got? The best piece of advice and the weirdest piece of advice that you've got?
The best piece of advice. But going back to what you were asking about sense of self, I'll just finish.
Yeah, please.
I think after a point you learn, you don't lose your sense of self. I think I had to figure out how to communicate better, how to crack a certain style of communication, and I feel like I learned a lot of that from, as female actors, we are mostly working with male actors and very, very established actors. And I always feel like whenever you're in close company with a person who's successful in whatever field they're successful in whatever way they're deemed successful, I always feel there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn about. Apart from the craft, apart from the film side of things, there's a lot to learn from everyone you're around. And it's in broad daylight, like, how is this person successful? Like, what are the elements that make him or her like that person? Like, something, for example, because he's also a dear friend, like Thalapathy Vijay has this beautiful quality where he will always walk his talk. Something as simple as, if I call him up right now, And if he'll pick up and if he's busy, he'll be like, I'm a little caught up with shoot for the next couple of days. I'll call you on Thursday. If he says that even fleetingly in the moment, he will call on Thursday. Like even a little thing that comes out of his mouth, he will walk his talk. With the bigger stuff, of course, but even with minuscule things. He's like if you call him for a party, and if he's like, okay, I'll come for it, he'll come. It's not a dikhawa, it's not a haan bol ke phir not turning up or anything like that. Random examples, but there's a lot to learn from something like that. There's a lot to learn from something like Rajni sir, who makes sure that he feels every person is heard. And every person in a gathering who's sitting with him is like he's seeing you, you're seen and you're heard. And these are such beautiful qualities, right? Because we've also worked with people who are very, if they are unhappy with you, they'll just like overlook you or not even make an effort. So, and something I've learned by being with a lot of these people is you tweak your communication style in a way where you crack that person's psychology a little better and deal with the situation in a more tactful way without you compromising and losing yourself, but at the same time, like try to find a middle ground, whether it's a problematic director, whether it's a egotistical colleague, whether it's, whether you have incompatibility issues with somebody. You can tactfully try to figure things out without losing yourself and without turning everything into a fight.
Nice, nice. What about Bollywood? Like, I have this problem. A lot of managements have, say, 8 female actors, and you're being pitched for a role which XYZ is also being pitched. Is that, how can one person fit? How can 8 people fit one role? So it's like Sabzi Mandi. Do you agree with that? Concept?
Yeah.
Like, when they pitch, your agency pitches you to a director, there are 8 people being pitched for the same kind of role.
Right. So the nature of artist management, the structuring of it is very different in the Hindi film industry, where we have a collective, we have a matrix, we have an exceed, like whoever. And in the South film industries, it's more of like individuals who are managers. So both work in very different ways. Like for instance, I have a different manager for Tamil and somebody different for Malayalam, because you need a manager who is well connected to people at a more grassroots level, which happens when you're in that industry. But in Hindi, it's very funny, yeah. It's because there are only a few agencies, and so half the talents are with one agency, the other half are with the other. So if there's one casting that's open, there's an agent from one management company sitting with the producer and saying, "Isko le lo, acha ye nahi, isko le lo, ye nahi, isko le lo." So it's like a paints like a color card. You want this color? No. What about eggshell? No. Off-white? No. White? It's basically like that. Which is funny, but I mean, that's how things are here. Having said that, Jitesh, I think the reason everybody desperately tries to find a formula to crack it or how to make it is because there is no formula. Every artist, every successful artist, everybody who's doing well, has done well, has had such a different graph compared to, like, no two people have had the same graph. Somebody's maybe started with television and then forayed into cinema and made it really big. Somebody got their big break opposite like an existing superstar. Somebody started with the South Indian film industry and then got a pan-India hit and then got big films in Hindi. Some people started with Hindi and are now doing big Telugu films because, Telugu, like the South film industry is doing so well. There is no formula at all. It's all right place, right time. It's so individual, which is the nature of our business.
Can actors be friends? Do you have co-stars and female actors? No, because obviously you all are probably fighting for the same roles, may have dated the same men at various points. So can actors really be friends in that sense? Like, have you met kind actors? Have you met, like you mentioned Rajini sir, but among your female co-stars, have you met?
So see, it's tough. It is tough. I'll tell you why. not so much from a competing with each other. Like if you can just be a mature person, it's okay, you know. You're vying for the same role, and if the other person gets cast, it's okay, right? I mean, that's how I look at things. But the problem is, as female actors, we don't end up spending a lot of time with other female actors. We're not sharing the screen with them unless it's like a one-off film which has two heroines, or just like two women in a film, or like something like that, which doesn't happen very often. So you don't.
Has any actor been bitchy with you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
Of course, yeah.
Like, what did she say? Like, something that she said.
I've had a male actor, you know, behave very bitchy with me because I wasn't too friendly with him, and wouldn't hang out every time they would go out for partying and stuff mid-shoot. And he didn't like that I was, you know, not being too, you know, accommodating in that way. So he's gone and said bad things about me, but that's quite, yeah. But that was also his reputation, so I was expecting that. But just to finish like what I was saying, with male actors, it's very tricky to, you know, there are like very one-offs that you can, it's tough, yeah, Jits. It's tough. Female actors we're not working with, and male actors, you know, it's hard to, you have to be compatible with the person. It's hard to, even they should want something that's just platonic. You have to keep in touch once a film is over. So these things, I feel like, at least for me, haven't added up too much. Although I do have some people I'm very fond of, people I've worked with. Yeah.
Full stop. Have you dated an actor?
No.
Okay, tell me about relationships. Are you a high maintenance girlfriend? What is it?
Define high maintenance. What is high maintenance girlfriend?
You tell me. There may be various levels of high maintenance, but my question is, like, what have your relationships taught you? Say a relationship you had at 20 and a relationship you had at 30. I'm just give you an example. Every time there are these passages we make. So what do your relationships teach you every time? Is it easy dating? Is it, say, suppose you've dated a non-film person, or you've dated a film person. It could be anybody. It could be a cameraman, it could be a director, or it could be an investment banker, it could be a doctor, anybody. What are the pros and cons of dating an actress?
Dating an actress. Cons first.
So lots, huh?
That's a lot of cons. Cons is understanding if you're with somebody who's not a part of the industry, especially, it's very hard to get that person to understand what our life entails. Like the kind of everything, from the kind of power dynamics we face with men in general, which is pretty much everyone in the film industry. It's majority men everywhere. To the fact that you're romancing someone on screen, or if there's an on-screen kiss, or, you know, it's such a normal part of the job of being an actor. But of course, it's one of those things that gets your partner a little uncomfortable, and, you know, so that's a tricky one to navigate. Having said that, I feel my perspective towards relationships now is that butterflies are easy. Physical attraction is, you know, it's great. It feels amazing. The honeymoon phase being great, like all of that. What truly matters in the longer run is that somebody who is respectful of your ambitions, your what you're doing, basically. Somebody who understands that journey, somebody who is on your side when it comes to that journey, because otherwise you can't, it's too tough an industry anyway. And if you don't have that kind of support at home in your personal life, it makes it very hard.
So, like, for example, do the guys in the relationship get intimidated by, say, your stardom? Or are they, like, most guys are not secure about a more successful partner. Have you faced that?
Not too much. Not too much.
No?
I've actually been with somebody who is extremely, very encouraging. of my dreams, of my goals. Always wanted to see me do big films, grow bigger and better. So
your current relationship?
My current relationship.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So he's a non-film person. So you've never dated an actor or a person in the within the industry?
No. All my relationships have been like, from my college relationship to like, it's always been non-industry people. And I think again, comes down person to person, yeah. It's somebody who respects the effort you've put in, respects the hustle, the waking up and showing up even when you don't have the emotional bandwidth for it, who's seen you face rejections, who's seen you go through a bad Friday, go through a good Friday, and sees you for all of that, sees you for the amount of work you're willing to put in and respects that. I think that's what you need.
What is your relationship with your body? I remember at one point you said you were body shamed or something to that effect, and you were a woman. And also now with social media being so, are you easy with yourself more? The way you look, the way you dress up, or I mean, girls get body shamed a lot, and body shaming is now, of course, now it's become a very woke topic. But body shaming begins at home. Most of my friends tell me their body shaming began, including mine, began at home, or some relatives or whatever. So how did you face that? And also in a lot of Mallu setup, all this thing is very, very common. So did it sort of affect you at any point?
I was called very skinny after my first film, my first ever film. I was called I was skinny shamed. So, I mean, it's still body shaming, whether you're fat shaming somebody or skinny shaming, making somebody feel not good about their body still amounts to the same feeling. But I feel like now I've reached a point where I'm very comfortable in my body and how I feel, how I look. And it's the other thing the business does to you, which makes you thick-skinned over a period of time. And when I see my friends in other professions now, friends I've grown up with, and I see like things they're affected by, sometimes just I feel like as actors we go through so much where people feel like they're commenting on your hair, your body, your the width of your arm, your every single thing, that we become so thick-skinned to pretty. Like it takes a lot to like to like now I can take on most things. So,
but there's a criticism constantly that everybody is going to the same cosmetologist, and all actors today, if I look, they all have the same hair, same makeup, same stylist, and everybody looks like an assembly line product. Do you think it's a fair assumption, this thing?
I feel the same way too. I do. Like, I mean, if we keep talking about yesteryear actresses a fair bit and fangirling over a bunch of people, but everybody, it's like we keep saying, back in the day, everybody had their own distinct style, individuality, and so dignified in how they spoke. Like, I even now, one of my favorite things to do is go back to interviews, old interviews of actors I really admire, and be it Wahida Rahman or Simi Garewal or Zeenat Aman or even Aishwarya Rai, like a little closer to, such eloquent, well-spoken women and, highly opinionated. And so graceful in how they conducted themselves, how they dressed. Everybody was so different. It is all, now if you look at the current generation, everything is definitely cookie cutter,
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, I don't know if I should comment because even I'm a part of this generation. So I'm just like, hey. All I can say is I'm not a big fan of cosmetology, so not been a part of that bandwagon as yet.
But have they been, like, do you get pressured when you see stuff on social media to, okay, maybe I should fix my nose, maybe I should fix my lips, maybe I should fix my hair, maybe I should fix my eyebrows? Do you get pressured that way?
Jitesh, it's taken me a long time. It took me a long time to be very comfortable in my body. And that was not a good phase to go through. I guess every girl goes through that. Like when you go from like your gawky looking ears to like actually having a glow up when you're in your mid-20s or whatever, is when you really start like kind of settling down physically, in a sense. So after having gone through that, not feeling so good about myself phase, I would say that I'm very comfortable with my face, with my body, where I don't want to do anything to myself. I haven't done anything to myself and I don't want to. And I also feel like if people have liked me for what I am currently, then why would I even want to like play around with that? But having said that, this is not a feeling that came to me overnight. It's something that's happened over a period of years. And I'm glad that I feel comfortable in my skin today. It's not easy. I've seen other actor friends go through like, oh, I think I should get I would like my jaw to have more definition. Do you know where I can go? Or I would like want a little bit more of like a buckle thing to, be contoured. And so it's a very normal thing to feel.
Everybody's looking crazily, eerily similar. And
but that's what everyone looks like. It's like there are certain countries you go to now, and when you go to the malls there, everyone's looking the same. Like, I can't identify one woman from the other, and I'm not even, like, it's not even, like, I can't tell. Everyone's like, everyone's gotten the same stuff done. Everyone's looking like a replica of each other. It's
sad now because it starts at 16 and all. As like I was reading an article which said they're called the Sephora kids. Kids between 7 and 12.
There are 13-year-olds who know like niacinamide and glycolic acid and all, which we're finding out now. Like I found out about these things last year. And उस age में तो nothing, like one hairband, after seeing Kuch Kuch Hota and Anjali and all, one hairband I used to put, and like that was like my cool thing. Nowadays kids know everything, But it's sad because there is so much of beauty in individuality. It's we liked people for their physical quirks as well that defined who they were. We never, like growing up, I never looked at an actor because I thought this person looks perfect and flawless, so let me be a fan. It never worked like that. I remember Madhuri Dixit's, her hair texture is what I think about if I think of a Madhuri Dixit. If I think of Kajol, it's her famous unibrow. And again, like very undone hair in so many films. And it looks beautiful. And while they're acting, they'll just run their hands through their hairs. Actresses don't do that now. You'll never see in the middle of a scene an actress doing this because everything is set. Everything is made to look prim and proper. So you just don't do, like that flowiness is not there in the demeanor anymore. There's a certain idea of, the idea of beauty also affects how you are on screen and how much of a flow you have, right? If your dupatta is set in a prim way, if your chiffon sari is sitting at a certain angle, and if your one lut is set, you're not going to be free-flowing in the scene. But at the same time, if there's not so much of emphasis on these things, and if casual beauty is okay, then you're just using all these elements a lot better, which was there more so during the 90s and up until the 2000s, but things are very different now. Like I remember, like I was doing this film and I had this lut, and in the middle of a scene, I was just like, I was getting worked up with with my boyfriend in the film, and I would just like do this, and he would be like, no, don't move that thing, let that be there.
That's nice. That's very interesting.
So I'm like, okay. Like, understand, for a song or something like that, you want that little softness, that little romantic vibe. When I'm angry and I'm yelling at him, but I still have to look like, the lut has to be there. But yeah, again, like, so there's we don't see the uniqueness, and the uniqueness is not allowed to exist anymore, I feel. It's uncool. It's made uncool in today's generation.
Cookie cutter, like you said.
Cookie cutter. Everything's cookie cutter. So that's sad. That's sad because I truly feel that's what makes, people far more interesting looking.
What about your mental health? Have you been to therapy? How have you faced? Obviously, like you said, like your friends don't get, like you're so you used a word, you've become so thick skinned with all the but what does it do to your mental health? Do you have you been through therapy? Have you had some sort of healing sessions? It's not easy, it's not easy working in 3 industries, 4 industries. What does it do to you? You know, like you said, you've now begun to sort of make peace with yourself, your body, a lot. Everything is a work in progress. So, similarly, mental health, how do you grapple and navigate that?
There's a lot more conversation happening around mental health now since the last 5 or 6 years. But before that, I remember having phases in my life where I'm feeling very low, but I didn't even know, I didn't even have the awareness that why I was feeling low, and the fact that maybe I can go and talk to somebody about it. That awareness was not there, which today's generation probably has, because there's so many more conversations around it. There's so much more of information available. And social media, right? Social media has boomed in the last 5 years, Jitesh. Like before that, there's so much of life we were just figuring out on the go. We weren't subjected to so much. We didn't have so much of information. So as a result of which, when I went through a phase where I was not feeling good, I didn't and nobody around me even recognized, okay, she's down, to suggest therapy or take me to therapy. So I feel like that's a hole I crawled out of on my own when circumstances changed. But now if I'm feeling low, I obviously know that there is that option. I have a very strong support system. I still live with my parents. I live with my mom, dad, and my brother. And I did go through a phase in my mid-20s where I was like, oh, I want to live alone and, have my own space and all. But then I just felt like there is so much of uncertainty at work. Either work itself is uncertain. You don't know if the right kind of, if you're gonna, after your first film, you don't know if you're gonna get your second film. After that, you don't know if you're gonna get a third film. There's uncertainty in that department. When you have back-to-back work, you're dealing with so many different interpersonal dynamics at work. Some are pleasant, some are not pleasant. So there is, the emotional graph is all over the place, that department of our lives, that coming back home to mom and dad feels great. I feel like it keeps me in check. It keeps me feeling it gives me that padding, that emotional padding. I don't think I would have done too well if I lived alone. I feel like I'm very prone to going into a dark space in my head, and I feel like that would have happened to me if I lived alone. So I live with family. I have a very close circle of friends who are who understand my line of work, who are there for me. So I feel like the way to balance out that is to have a very solid system on the other end. That's what has been working for me.
And you have an easy relationship with your parents? Is it, or are there certain lines you cannot cross, they cannot cross? What is the kind of relationship that you have with them?
I keep telling people, for two individuals who've been, my mom's been raised in such an orthodox setup, I can't blame my family, every family was like that. And she's so liberal. My mother is extremely liberal, very, very, when I was 25 and 26, and if my grandmother would just be like, it's time for her to get married, why are you guys not getting her married? And she would just be she would turn and tell my grandmother, what's the hurry? Let her do what she wants to do. She's smart enough to figure it out for herself. And same with my father, very, they will not push me towards any direction that they want to, and neither will they pull me away from something that I really aspire to do. But at the same time, they're there as two very strong pillars, and I have so much respect for them for doing that. Yeah, they're very easygoing, but they'll keep me in check with no bad habits, not not too much partying or none of that.
It would be okay if you decide to live in with someone, as in a partner. Would you be easy introducing your partner to your parents or partners in the past?
I would be comfortable introducing my partner to them, but I've never asked them if they would be okay me living with someone. It's very awkward, yeah. So like, the thing with my family, is we love each other to death, obviously, but it's very hard for us to express it. We're not a very expressive family. So even when me and my dad, we meet after if we're meeting after 3 months, we haven't seen each other, and we'll be like, our hearts will be bursting with joy that we're seeing each other, but we'll be like, hi, and sometimes we'll give a handshake and all. Like my father's extended his arm and give me a handshake. And I've just been like, okay. And even our hugs are very it's.
You think that's a South Indian thing? I don't know.
I think so, yeah. It's a very South Indian thing. We are not very, and I see my Punjabi, hey, puttar, a little hug, and give a chappi and all. I'm like, wow, they can really express, yeah, we can't, They really express, I love you, beta, I missed you. And I'm like, oh God, I don't think we've ever said that to each other. And we love each other to bits, obviously, but I don't think we can express. So we're not a very expressive family. I think Amma is. So mom gets irritated that me and dad don't express. She wants that very flowery expression that Amma, I love you and good night and, all of that. And we are very stoic with how we express. Handshake, so you get the gist of it, right? Then literally Taji's extended his arm and I'm like, okay.
What is it that you now are looking forward to? Do you have a game plan as an actress? Is there a strategy?
I would love to have a game plan. I would love to have a game plan, but you can't in this line of work, Jit. Sorry, I cut you off. You want to finish?
No. That was the point I was trying to make.
You can't have a game plan because you don't know, it's such an unpredictable line of work. All you can do is, okay, these are the opportunities that have come my way. Now, what is the best decision I can make at this point in my career, which will take me a step closer to bigger and better work and more work, right? So we're just picking from the opportunities we're getting. And I have this weird superstition that every time I have gone chasing a film, you hear, okay, so-and-so directors casting for this film. And your team or people around you or your producer friends and all of them, they are like, oh, text this person, reach out. And every time I've been like, oh, I should hustle, I should, find out some middle person, go meet that director or text that director. Every time I've done that, every time I've gone chasing a film, it's never worked out. But at the same time, if I'm holidaying somewhere in Vietnam, not even thinking about, focusing on my Long Island iced teas and I'm get my fourth one. And I'll suddenly get a call saying, oh, do you want to do a film with Rajinikanth? And I'm like, I need to take more holidays in life. So now it's just stuck in my head that, oh God, if I really want to do this film, let me not think about it at all. Let me just go on a holiday or something and just hope that...
So you're manifesting all your films now with Long Island
Correct.
Ice.
No more Long Island iced teas. I don't think my body can take it anymore. This was once upon a time. Long Island iced tea is dead there. It's 5 things mixed together.
And before I let you go, there's an audience round. There are a few people here who want to ask you a few questions. So go ahead.
Hi Malavika, you have spoken about Vicky Kaushal being your childhood friend. Now I would like to know how has this friendship evolved over the years, and now that both of you are in the same industry, do you reach out to him about career advice, life advice? So I would like to know how is it right now?
Vicky's actually one of my oldest friends because we used to be neighbors in this very tiny little apartment complex that both our families used to live in. And I've known him since I was 1. He's always been a fab performer. Even for every birthday party, we would play this game, Passing the Parcel, which I think most of us did, right? And every time he would get out, you have to make the person do something, some sort of a performance. So we would always make him dance because he was a fabulous dancer even back then. And I recall when I had Vicky was already in this path where he was auditioning for films and all of this. This is before Masan happened, and I was also I'd just done my first Malayalam movie, and I was looking to meet people, casting directors and everybody here in Bombay. And I remember I called him up and I was like, can you guide me? Can you advise me? Can you connect me to these people? And both of us met up in a mall's food court. I still remember this. We're sitting in a food court like this. And he's like, I'll tell you, take this person's number. This person does casting for this company, and has done so and so film. So my introduction to like all the casting directors, to like the casting scene at that point was in a food mall with Vicky. So, so I'm glad that I had somebody like him to kind of help me figure things out when I was at that point. And he's a lovely person. So
Hello, Malvika. So, as we all know that you are loved and known for such diverse roles of yours, I wanted to know how you go on about your scripts, about choosing your scripts. Is it all instinctive, or are there certain non-negotiables that you follow?
for me, I've grown up. First of all, thank you for your sweet words. She said loved, I think.
I did.
Thank you. I was telling Jitesh during the course of our conversation that I grew up consuming and exposed to a lot of different languages of cinema while growing up. I was very in tune with Malayalam films because my parents used to watch a lot of Malayalam cinema. I grew up in Bombay, so of course Bollywood. And I watched a lot of world cinema and a lot of Wong Kar-wai, Godard, Manikal, like so many good masters. That when I started working, I think I was greedy to work with good filmmakers and good actors in every industry. So say Mani Ratnam in Tamil. I've also grown up watching a lot of his works. Or Fahad Fasil. I mean, Fahad is relatively new, obviously. But working with Fahad, working with Rajamouli sir in Telugu, working with Zoya. So basically, like I have a list of like people in every industry that I aspire to work with. And so I think it's just like a matter of like what the opportunities coming your way and what excites you at that point, what script calls out to you, what maker, like does the maker excite you? So I think it's a combination of things, different things. But I love working across multiple industries. Like it's my dream scenario to do a Tamil movie, do a Bollywood film, do a Telugu movie. Like I love that hopping around. It's something that excites me. Like I would never leave all of that if and just stick to like one language. There's good cinema happening everywhere. So why not?
Hi Malvika. So my question is that Yudra was of course, the second Hindi film you did, and it came after a long gap after Beyond the Clouds. So my question is, what was it about Yudra that made you choose this role and come back to Hindi cinema?
So after Beyond the Clouds, I was working a lot in Tamil.
Yeah.
So I was busy in that industry, and I was looking for the right script, the right makers. If I may put it that way, in Hindi. And it's the makers that excited me because we've all grown up watching Dil Chahta Hai, Lakshya, Dawn. And it's the same makers who are making Yudra. So that was the aspect that appealed to me.
Hello, so do you feel more settled in South industry or can we expect you in more Hindi films in future?
I'm currently working in one Telugu movie with Prabhas. I just finished one Tamil film, just finished one Malayalam film, and my last release was a Hindi film. So I think it's where the next interesting script comes from. But having said that, I would love to do a lot more films in Hindi because it's a language I speak really well. I grew up here, so there's also a strong connection to the culture, the socio-political aspect of things. And I've grown up watching Hindi films. So I would love to be a part of that legacy and do more work here, obviously. I hope more films start working at the box office here. So that more interesting. We need good writers, yeah. I feel like there are writers are not encouraged, not paid well enough, not picked in the correct manner. So there are a lot of elements that are contributing to why business is not doing too well here, apart from like a one-off film that's done really well. But I hope films pick up here so we can all do more work, yeah. Like right now I'm working on a Telugu, like I'm just wrapping up, like I mentioned, a film with Prabhas sir. And the economics have shifted so much in the recent years, where there is so much money because a lot of films there are making money. And I hope that, like that imbalance kind of gets, I hope Hindi films get start doing better, yeah, so that we can do films here.
So you're right when you said writers and I mean, I can't wrap my head around the fact that a hair and makeup person earns more,
Make
than
more
a
money than a writer.
or a technician or a cameraman.
More than a cameraman. And I feel like the staff has become very tough to work with, yeah. Even for us actors, no, it's become very hard to like deal with that drama, and there's a lot of like we need to pour in more money into like writers. Writers need to get paid better, and we need to invest more in like original ideas, fresh ideas, and the script a lot more if we want to see things shift. So better scripts and more of me here, hopefully.
So that was a fun conversation. Thank you for being part of this. And here's to more, not Long Island Ice, but here's to lots more films with Rajinikanth, Vijay, and may your success streak continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jitesh.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's always fun talking to you. So thank you for having me.